Greetings everyone, welcome to Chess Advanced. Game 3, Hikaru won. Game 4, Magnus won. Game 5 was a draw. And Game 6, Magnus was on the inch of victory when he made that knight to d2 blunder and knight to f1 was winning a piece. And here, Hikaru forced Armageddon, but the game is still not over yet. He bid 6:16 on the time clock and Magnus bid 7:17. So with that, Magnus has 10 minutes on the clock while Hikaru has only 6 minutes and 16 seconds. So it's going to be one hell of a game. So without further ado, let's start with this game. Magnus starts with knight to f3, ready opening. I think in an interview, Magnus said if if aliens came to town and they were like, we would destroy the humanity until and unless you play a game and win, what opening would you choose? And he said the ready opening. And here, knight to f6, we have c4, g6, and we have this knight to c3, bishop g7, and just going for e4. We have Anglo-Indian defense or anti-Grunfeld variation, and we have d6, d4, and just going for castles. And we have bishop to e2, and you can see that we also have the King's Indian defense orthodox variation in this, and we also got that in game 3 where Magnus just blundered and got his queen trapped. So Magnus is saying you can play whatever variation you want of King's Indian. Here I'm going to beat you and I'm going to win the Armageddon. Let's see what Hikaru says to that with his game, because we have e5 but now just castles by Magnus, and we have knight to c6 and just going for d5, just going for the advanced variation, and we have knight to e7. We have b4 immediately striking in the center for the queen side, and we have a5 just challenging that pawn. We have b captures, c5, and just now going for this a4, and we have rook captures on a5, but finally going for this rook to e1. We have knight to e8, and now just rook to a3, but just finally we have f5, and we have knight to g5, just getting that knight to a very nice square. Maybe that could be pushed in the future. We have knight to c7, and in this position you have to be very much careful as white, because you could go for this e captures on f5, but here after g captures you have this bishop to f5. After h6 you push the knight back, king to h7, and now g3. And now here after knight to e8, most likely this knight is going to be jumping here trying to attack the bishop. You wait for that knight to h4, but here knight to f6, bishop moves back, you play knight to g6, and you could trade. King comes very close outside of his boundary, but there is no way white can attack it. So but you could play this to pin the piece, to pin this pawn, but that's not going to do that very much. And here you could go for king to h7, knight to b5, but here after king to h8 you play f3, and the position is very much in white's favor, and anyone who would be pushing for a win, it's definitely going to be white. And with that less time on the clock, Hikaru Nakamura could try and win, but he's not going to succeed, though he could hold Magnus, and that would be victory as well. But here after knight to c7 we have bishop to d2, just not going for any of those complications and not giving Hikaru easy time to calculate. We have h6 by Hikaru pushing the knight back. We have knight to f3, rook to a6, and here e captures, just finally going for that captures. That is better for white. We have knight captures on f5, but now just going for bishop to d3, just targeting that piece. And we have knight to e8, but just going for this h3, not allowing any knight jumps, any bishop jumps anymore. And we have bishop to d7, but now finally going for this knight to e4. And here we have knight to f6. Both of those knights are very strong, although we could be seeing this and maybe a trade in the center. And we have queen to c2 as planned. We have knight captures on e4, bishop captures, queen to f6, and here we have this bishop to c3, g5, just finally going for that. Although this is not a threat, I mean so many pieces are defending it, so don't worry about that. We have rook to b1, just finally going for that pawn, and there is not many ways you could defend it. You could play a passive move like that to defend it, but that's not the way you want to play. So b6, just now pushing that pawn. We have knight back to h2, just trying to go for this knight to g4, attacking the queen. We have rook f to a8, just trying to put pressure on that a4 pawn, and here knight to g4, just attacking the queen. Queen moves, and here there is a very beautiful tactic in the position which Magnus unfortunately missed. So I'm going to ask you to pause and try and find out the impossible tactic that Magnus didn't know existed in this position. Have your chance, because if you find it, you're going to get one hell of a confidence, because even the 5 times world champion could not spot this tactic. So have at it. So congratulations to everyone who's able to find this move, and the move is the beautiful bishop captures on e5. It's a beautiful sacrifice, because now once you go for bishop captures, now you get this rook to f3, just sliding the rook all the way over to trying and pinning this piece. Knight to d4, just trying and going for this, but now you just trade with check. Rook captures, king captures, and after queen to d1, you're up the queen. Although black has a lot of chances to play, can capture that pawn, but here anyone who's going to be pushing for a win, it's definitely going to be white. You're going to trade this, you're going to get into the position, infiltrate, the rooks are going to have to go back, and with this bishop you're going to try and checkmate black. And that's exactly what would have happened if Magnus had saw that. Magnus had seen that, but Magnus did not see it. Magnus went for this queen to d3 in this position, and here just knight to d4. Now same tactic doesn't exist. We have knight back to e3. Instead of the knight back to e3, what Magnus should have done, just gone for completely going for this capture, because this knight is extremely strong. You're gonna have to trade that one way or another. And here after e captures, you would say bishop to e6, bishop to g6, and after rook captures on a4, you just trade a pair of rooks. Rook caps on b6, just grabbing that pawn. Also, this is a threat. Now it's protected, but it could not be here in the future. And here after h5, just pushing the knight back. Now you play knight to h2. Looks scary because this check is coming, but don't worry about that. Knight can defend it easily. We have rook to a1 check, knight to f1, and here after rook to a2, just trying to infiltrate, trying to go for the mate. You just push that pawn, and yes, f3 works in this position, so you don't have to worry about that. Rook to a8, but now just rook to b7, and here after queen to c8, just attacking. You play a very beautiful king moves, and only after the queen keeps an eye on the rook, keeps an eye on the bishop, and you would have a very amazing position here. And white would love to go for a win in this position. And Hikaru down to 2 minutes, 1.5 minutes on the clock. Now for Magnus, this would be easy to convert. But here after knight to e3, you don't have that same kind of thing. But here after rook caps on a4, we have rook captures, and rook caps on b6, just going as planned. But now just rook to a3, trying to pin this bishop, and not only pinning this bishop, but also going for a beautiful tactic in this position, which is this rook captures. If you play a very weird move, let's say you try and go for this, but now just rook captures, and this would be extremely bad if that had happened in the game. But obviously he's Magnus, he's not going to miss those things, so he went for rook to king to f1. So that check doesn't exist anymore. Now just rook to a2. And here in this position, knight to d1. I know it looks very scary. If the rook ever jumps in, if the bishop ever moves, if you trade that, now you can see that this would be very much difficult to play with, but everything is defended, so you don't have to worry. Bishop to a4. This bishop to a4 completely blunders the game. I'm not going to ask you to pause the video because I'm sure all of you can see that. All you have to do is put the queen back, and this rook unfortunately is trapped, and there is no way you could do anything in this. Knight is knight is very nicely protecting this as well, so that was the idea. Here bishop captures on d1, but just queen captures. We have queen to f4, but now just rook to b8 check, bishop to f8, and here queen to b1. Here Magnus is in a must-win situation. He is better, everything. He's better on time, and Hikaru is very much low on the clock. And here just bishop to e2, but now just going for king to g1. Bishop caps on c4, but now just bishop caps on d4. Finally grabbing that powerful piece. We have e captures, and now just bishop to h7 check, king to h8. We have bishop to f5, and here just king to g8, g3. Just attacking the queen, asking the queen, where are you going to move? We have queen to f3 and bishop to e6 with the check, king to h8, and here queen to g6 was played. And it was on this move, on move 43, that Hikaru Nakamura resigned the game, and Magnus with this proceeds to the finals of the game, and he's gonna have an amazing game. He's gonna have to play another Falcon, but as he said in the interview, that with the bow and arrow he has gotten one Falcon down, it's time to take down the second one. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll be coming back with such amazing games, and definitely the final games as well. So subscribe to the channel, and I'll be seeing you guys very soon. Thank you all.